Hello and welcome back to Mike's Italian Grand Adventure. As you can tell by the snow on the ground, I'm not in Arizona any longer. I'm back at my house here in Colorado. And while I was gone, I received 3 feet of snow. So that's about a meter of snow. And as you can see, some of it has not melted yet. So it's a beautiful sunny day here. It's probably in the 50s, close to 15 degrees Celsius. And it's a gorgeous day, blue sky. And it feels great to be back. I spent yesterday shoveling off my deck and my driveway and some paths, and an old dead tree that I really liked was knocked down by the snow and the wind, so it was covering a path, so I had to chainsaw that up yesterday. But felt good to be back here in the mountains. So first I want to start, as I always do, to thank everyone who has subscribed to my channel, and we reached a bit of a milestone. We just had the 100th subscriber. That was yesterday, so thank you very much. I think we're up to 101 now, so slowly growing, but please keep subscribing. And if you want to get notifications when I post new videos every Friday morning, please turn on notifications, and then you'll see the minute I post this video live. So I've been doing that. I used to do it 6 a.m. Mountain Time, but I decided to change it to midnight Mountain Time, which is -6 GMT, for my friends in Europe, so they didn't have to wait because they were so anxious to watch my videos. Okay, so today I want to talk about the food and wine of Italy, something that probably all of us know. I think it's probably one of the most famous foods around the world. I think it definitely is here in the United States. And if I had to pick one food to live the rest of my life on, it would be pizza, hands down. So that's one of my favorites for sure. But Italy's more than pizza, and it's more than just pasta. So there's a lot of different types of food, and it's specific to region. Wine as well. The wines are named by the region, so there's Chianti and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Barolo and Spumante, and all these different types of wines, but they're from a very specific region within Italy. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit and do a little research and share my research with you on that. Also, a lot of the foods have a historical meaning, so they've been around for a long time. So regions like Sardinia have a lot of their own very unique foods, and some of the northern territories that are in the Alps have food that you wouldn't necessarily think is Italian, due to the influence of other cultures around it. So let's head inside on the computer, pull up some maps, pull up some pictures of food, and let's get started. Man, I'm gonna be hungry after recording this episode. All right, let's do it. All right, here we are back at my computer, and here are some foods of Italy. I just did a quick search here on Google Images, and you can see this is what I think of when I think of Italy and Italian food. I think it's probably what most people think of, but what's really interesting is each of these is specific to a certain region. So I think a big part of that is that Italy is a big country. And there's different climates. To the north in the Alps, you're going to have a lot different types of food you grow and eat there than you do in the south. Another thing to keep in mind is that, Italy is surrounded by sea. So anything that's near the coast is probably going to eat a lot of seafood. So that's going to make things, a very different
diet than in different areas, like for instance in the Alps up here. So so this is just kind of an example of some of the ones you might recognize. These are some of the ones that I recognized. So in the north you have Ossobuco. So this is in the Lombardia region where Milan is located, and Ossobuco is braised lamb shanks. So that's really different than over here in Sardinia, that's got fruta di mare. So that's like the fruit of the sea. So it's going to be clams and mussels and probably some fish and shrimp, things like that. So you're going to have a lot of different food depending on where you're at. If you look over here in Abruzzo, just east of Rome, I think they're kind of known for some meats and sausages, and there's mountains that run down here, so they're probably boar that live in the mountains, and they have wild boar and make sausages and meats out of that. So a lot of it depends on where the food comes from, based on the type of food that can be grown there. So we're talking about food, but we can't talk about just food in Italy without talking about the wine of Italy. So this is the wine region. These are the different wine regions of Italy, and some of the wines that they make in each of these regions. And it's just incredible. I think everyone associates wine with Italy as well, as in addition to certain foods. So we'll be talking about some of the wines we go through as well. So let's just jump back over to the map of Italy real quick, and I just wanted to share one quick story about when I was young, traveling right out of college. My buddy Mark and I went on like a 2-month trip through Europe, and we ended up jumping over into North West Africa here to Morocco from Spain. Just took a ferry across here, and we had been to Marrakesh here in the inland, and then we went over to Essaouira here on the coast. And we were sitting at a restaurant looking at a menu, and there's this local guy came up, started talking to us, and I think he was trying to sell us hashish or something. But he said, don't order the meat. You're on the coast. You order seafood here. He's like, if you're in Marrakesh, you order meat there. You don't order seafood inland, because Marrakesh is many hours from the sea and didn't have refrigeration, really very good, system for moving foods. So that's something that stuck with me, my whole life in traveling. And that was a long time ago when I learned that lesson. And ever since then, I've eaten seafood when I'm on the coast, and then eat, meat when I'm inland. So I think that's a great lesson for Italy too. For sure, when I'm on the coast, I'm going to be eating seafood. So there's going to be like, cuttlefish and squid and calamari and sardines and mussels and clams and all that kind of incredible seafood stuff on the coasts. But when I'm inland, I'll be eating, more traditional stuff for that region. So like Ossobuco in Milan when I'm in Lombardia. So one of the other things that's interesting in this region up here, so this is Piedmont at the foothills of the Alps, and this region is the largest producer of rice, I think, in Europe. So it's no coincidence then that risotto is a really popular dish in this area. In fact, risotto Milanese is from Milan. So that's something you get up here. You're not going to probably have as much pasta as you do here. So for sure they sell risotto in other parts of Italy, but I think if you want risotto, this is the region you want to try it in, because that's what they're famous for. And then I'd mentioned up here in the north in Trentino Alto Adige, there's the north half of this region speaks German. And that's because of the influence of Austria and the German culture there. So this area, you're going to find some more traditional foods like sauerkraut and sausages and bratwurst and things like that. So there's those regions, those things, those cultural influences as well, that I think are really interesting, and you're going to see in Italy in these northern areas where they do border with other countries. One of the other kind of famous dishes up in this region, in Veneto, is seafood along the coast, but a couple of wines, that are really, really famous that I'm sure you know about, and that are from Veneto, and that would be Pinot Grigio, an incredible white wine, just incredibly like light and refreshing and really great summer wine. And then Prosecco, the sparkling white wine from Italy, is from this region. So that's something that you want to try when you're coming through here. Um, when you slide over here, kind of down into the Italian Riviera in Liguria, is this region. Genoa is the capital. They're known for pesto. So for sure you've heard of pesto. It's a really simple. It's basil, pine nuts, garlic, olive oil, maybe some salt. I think is about it. And chop all that up real fine and put it over your pasta. And it's really world famous. But it's from this region in particular. Another really famous dish in the United States, you'll see in restaurants, it's often called spaghetti bolognese, but it's bolognese from Bologna. So it's funny because they don't use spaghetti when they make it in Bologna. So they use tagliatella. So that's a different type of pasta. It's like a little bit wider than fettuccine, but it's like a long flat pasta, maybe a quarter-inch wide. But definitely you wouldn't see it with spaghetti. And it's called ragu, ragu from Bolognese. So it's really kind of interesting, the original regional version, and then what we get sometimes in the United States isn't really accurate. Another thing from this region, Bologna, it's Emilia Romagna is this region, is Parmesan Reggiano, the cheese, Parmesan cheese. I mean, that is, you don't get more Italian than that. Balsamic vinegar, that's also from this region. So again, those are things that I 100% equate with Italy, but they are specifically from this region of Italy. There's a wine from this region, a sparkling red wine called Lambrusco, which is from here, so that's pretty interesting. Tortellini is also from this region, the little stuffed pasta shell. So that's pretty interesting that this particular region has a lot of the stuff that we see in the United States. And I don't know, maybe historically there was a large group of people from this region that migrated to the United States. I don't really know, but that could be part of the reason. Okay, let's move a little bit further south, and I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, Tuscany. I mean, Florence is the capital of Tuscany. Everyone loves Tuscany. There aren't, that I could find in this research, I couldn't find a bunch of foods that I think of from Tuscany. I think it's kind of, bland pastas, nothing that really stood out, but their wine absolutely does stand out. So one in particular, which everyone associates with Italy for sure, is Chianti, and it's from a region in Tuscany. It has to be from that region, be called Chianti. Another one that I really love, one of my favorite, is from the town of Montepulciano. So this is a little bit confusing. There's a wine called Montepulciano di Abruzzo, which is from the Abruzzo region of Italy, right down here east of Rome. But that's a different wine than Montepulciano, the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. So Vino Nobile di Montepulciano has to be from grapes in this region, and they're typically a Sangiovese grape majority. So that's a very different taste. Down in Abruzzo, it's actually a Montepulciano grape that they use for that wine. So it's a different wine. You'll see them both in wine stores here in the United States. They're both very, very famous. But for sure, I think Montepulciano di Abruzzo is more popular. You'll see that more often, and usually they're a little bit more less expensive. But the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, one of my absolute favorite all time. Another really famous wine from this region is Brunello. Brunello di Montalcino. So Montalcino is the city and has to be from that region. But another just incredible, really amazing Italian red wine. So let's just move down a little bit further here. Again, in some of these regions here, you're going to see, some wild boar sausages and meats. But I mean, you're just an hour from the coast, and so there's going to be a ton of seafood down along here. But some more regional specific foods. Let's go to Rome. There's a couple here that you're definitely going to know about. One is bruschetta, bruschetta. That's a super famous Italian food, and that's from the region here, Lazio, around Rome. Another one that's really famous is pasta carbonara. So that's just a really simple pasta with eggs, with egg, and I think some Parmesan cheese. Um, and I'd have to look at a recipe for sure, but I think there's just like four ingredients. And it's really simple. I think it uses like a almost like a bacon. I think it's actually supposed to be pork jowls, but it's a real flavorful pieces of bacon, and then some black pepper maybe. Um, so that's pasta carbonara. But another really famous cheese from this region is called Pecorino Romano. So pecorino means sheep in Italian, or pecorine, and so this is a sheep cheese. It's a hard sheep cheese. It's often grated over the top of pasta, but really flavorful, really incredible, and that's from this region. So really, really fun to know where these come from, and things that I've been eating all my life almost. So, and then I talked about Abruzzo over here, Montepulciano di Abruzzo wine. Let's move down here to Campania and capital of Naples. So this is an area that's really appealing to me, and I'm definitely going to be looking for property in this area. But a couple of things that are real famous here, of course, pizza, the most famous food in the world, in my opinion. And if I had to choose one food to eat for the rest of my life, when you're a kid, you ask that question. Pizza, hands down, no question. But another thing that's really famous from here is buffalo mozzarella, buffalo mozzarella. So that's from this region. And then another thing that's really incredible that's from here that I love is limoncello. So if you've never had limoncello, it's like a digestif. So after a meal, you have it. It's a liquor, lemon flavored liquor. They make it with orange. It's called orancello. But the more traditional one is with lemon, and I've been making this for years. I had it when I was in Italy, and I found a recipe online, and I've been making it, and it's super simple. You just take a really strong liquor. I use Everclear, like 180 proof. Some states in the United States can't sell that, so people use like Bacardi 151 rum because it's high alcohol content, but it's not the same. Don't do it. But here in Colorado, you can get Everclear, which is grain alcohol, really strong, and you basically just peel off the yellow of a dozen lemons, put them in a jar with a liter or two of Everclear, let it sit for a couple of weeks, and then strain out the peels, and then just mix it with a simple syrup, and that's it. Then just throw it in a bottle, put it in the freezer, and it's incredible. I love it. So limoncello, one of my favorites, and it's from this region. Let's pop over here a little bit to the southeast of Puglia, to the heel of the Boot of Italy, where we looked at some properties last episode. They're really well known for olive oil. I mentioned that in the other video. They're the number one producer of extra virgin olive oil in Italy, because the climate is super hot and dry and supports olive trees really well. So they're known for olive oil, but they're also really famous for burrata cheese, which is another soft cheese that's salty and just absolutely spectacular. I love it. So that's from the heel of Italy here. And then moving into the toe of Italy, most of Italian food isn't very spicy. They're not like Mexican food or anything. But this region, right here on the tip, Calabria, they are known for red chili peppers. So they have a dish you might have heard of called penne alla arrabbiata. And I think it actually means like angry pasta or something like that. But it's a spicy red sauce over penne pasta. And I know I've seen that in restaurants here in the United States, and it's pretty famous, but it's from this region. So let's head over to the island of Sicily and just take a peek here. This is a pretty unique culture, a very unique region. It's one of the 5 independent regions within Italy. So they have their own culture, their own language, their own foods, everything. But they're known for like kind of a dessert pastry called cannoli. It's kind of like a tube pastry filled usually with a sweet ricotta cheese and maybe some chocolate chips or something like that. But that's really famous. You'll see that all over. So even back here on the Foods of Italy, here's cannoli right down here. So that's, and this one has like crema de meringue, it says. So that's a little bit different than what typically I would think of for cannoli, but it's definitely 100% Sicilian. Another thing that's Sicilian is gelato. So apparently gelato's from Sicily. I didn't know that, but gelato's everywhere in the world. You'll find that everywhere for sure. So Um, that's really pretty unique. And then Sardinia. So I mentioned I've been to Sardinia and I had super di coso, which is like mussels in like a tomato sauce. And the mussels, I swear, were the size of my palm. They were the biggest mussels I've ever had and the most tender and delicious mussels. Incredible. So that's what I'll always remember here in Sardinia. And I look forward to having some this fall when I'm there with my buddy riding motorcycles. But um, two of the things they're really famous for is pecorino cheese. Remember I said earlier in Rome, there's pecorino romano. So from what I understand, that's where pecorino started. But now the vast majority of pecorino cheese is produced on Sardinia. So there must be a lot of sheep there, and it's works well for them to make it there. But I also heard that pecorino's from Tuscany, so it's interesting. So maybe there's these kind of regional challenges, or they have a slight variation on it, maybe a different, slightly different version of it. But for sure, right now, pecorino is considered popular in Sardinia. But the other thing that they have is this bread called pane carousel, and it's like a really thin, like almost like a cracker bread. Don't call it a cracker; it's bread though. But it's really thin, and they serve it with like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's used for like scooping up your food, and you could use it like a spoon, or just eat it with everything. But it's 100% Sardinian. It is absolutely theirs, and they love it. They're very proud of it. So um, definitely have to try that when I'm over there. But yeah, so as you can see, there's a huge variety of stuff throughout Italy. Um, Different types of foods, different types of wines, all sorts of stuff. You can see all these wines here. So yeah, up here in Piedmont, you're going to see Barbera, um, Barolo, Barbaresco, some really great ones in Tuscany, Chianti, Brunello di Montalcino, and then Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, one of my favorite. But and then some Pinot Grigio and Prosecco up over here in Veneto. So and then Brusco and Emilio Romagna. It just goes on, and I can't wait to go there and try as much food and wine as I can, just enjoy it and soak it all in. So I hope to share those experiences with you too, and I look forward to talking with you some more.